Hello and welcome to a very special Christmas Day episode of Prose. I certainly hope that you enjoyed the reading from Luke as per the usual tradition for Christmas Eve here on the podcast. Today, however, we are going to touch back on our thumbnail history series that we have delved into on several holiday occasions with a very special episode titled Thumbnail History 12th Night. If you've ever wondered why we have lords leaping and a bunch of other weirdness and strangeness in our 12 Days of Christmas carol, I'm hoping to dispel some of the confusion as to why we have those 12 days in the first place. So, sit back, relax, and let's jump into this Christmas Day special edition of Thumbnail History right here on Prose.
On the first day of Christmas, my true love gave to me a partridge in a pear tree. On the second day of Christmas,
Alright, so what is with those 12 days of Christmas anyway? Here in the US, most families squish in a few hours of Christmas holiday celebrations. 48 hours crazy max. Who the heck has time to celebrate for 12 straight days? Well, for one, pretty much everybody from the early Christian church. Essentially, those 12 days of Christmas refer to a celebration of Jesus' birth which only begins on December 25th, lasting all the way to January 5th or 6th, depending on how one views the end of that celebration and what quote-unquote end really means. Now, for simplicity's sake, we're going to stick to the Western Orthodoxy in this super watered-down quick-fix explanation. So if you celebrate anything in the vein of the Eastern Orthodox tradition, my apologies for just stumble-bumming right past your traditions. Anywho, sometimes this period is called Christmastide, sometimes Yuletide, though the latter is a super rip-off of Germanic terms and concepts for the midwinter celebrations connecting to Odin, his wild hunt, and a bunch of other really cool pagan traditions that were absorbed, Christianized, and spat back out. By the way, you should totally go check out some of the bits and bobs of how that all coalesces, especially in regards to Santa Claus and some of our more modern traditions. Cool stuff, man. Right, so, back to the point. Each of those 12 days is meant to be a celebration of something different. Day 1, December 25th, is a celebration of the birth of Jesus. Day 2, December 26th, is meant to be a commemoration of the Christian martyr and Saint Stephen. Day 3, December 27th, is in memory of St. John the Apostle. Day 4, December 28th, is the Feast of the Holy Innocents, where one is to remember the baby boys that King Herod the Great killed in an attempt to off Jesus as a kiddo. Day 5 is December 29th and takes us to Canterbury and is meant to honor St. Thomas Becket. Day 6, December 30th, is for St. Egwin of Worcester. Day 7, December 31st, is rather complicated and complex, but for our limited purposes, let's just say that New Year's Eve counts as what's being celebrated. Day 8, January 1st, is the big day for Mary, the mother of Jesus. Day 9, January 2nd, is for St. Basil, aka Basil, the Great, and St. Gregory Nazianzen. Nazianzen? Anyway, you get the point. Day 10, January 3rd, holds the Feast of the Holy Name of Jesus to mark Jesus' official naming in the Jewish temple. That one's disputed too, by the way. Day 11, January 4th, is a bit murkier, and I'm quite confused as to what is up with that. There's a bunch of weird stuff about American saints and martyrs, but that can't be right, because that post states what we're talking about. So, any listeners that care to educate us all on that, give me a shout. I'll put in an update. The 12th day of those 12 days, January 5th, is Epiphany Eve, or the Feast of the Three Kings, where Jesus' baptism and or the Three Magi are celebrated. So, even all those dates and celebrations are contested within the Western Orthodoxy itself, and they can often differ from country to country, or even parish to parish, etc. ad infinitum. It's really weird and funky. But excuse me, why is this episode titled 12th Night then? Great question. Let me tell you. So, we got to the 12th night, right? At least to the 12th day of Christmas, January 5th. So, 12th night was the tail end of these celebrations, and that is when Christmas time got crunk. It was the end of true winter, which ran from All Hallows Eve till Twelfth Night, and it was quite popular starting in medieval times, particularly in Britain. Roles were reversed for the rich and the poor, the powerful and the lowly, the male, the female, you name it, crazy stuff. Weird games were played, flaming brandy dishes made an appearance, super fattening and decadent foods were made, including the Twelfth Night cake, which also included a dried pea or bean inside that cake. Kinda gross? You know, maybe, but whoever found that bean and or dried pea, they got to be the lord or the lady of misrule for the rest of this throwdown. This lord or lady of misrule thing sounds pretty sweet, right? Well, it was. If you were the pea finder or bean finder, it meant that you dressed up like royalty and got to run the debauchery. If anyone has studied Roman history at all, that should sound quite familiar, as it simply is Saturnalia just warmed over and given a quasi-Christian veneer. In fact, one reason you probably haven't heard of Twelfth Night outside of maybe a passing Shakespeare reference is because that all of this overeating and binge drinking and just insanity supposedly, eventually, got a bit too rowdy, taking the place of the actual religious focus that was meant to be underscoring the festivities. So, slowly but surely, the celebrations were suppressed and or just fell out of favor. Which is too bad, as the raucous, rambunctious ramblings of a Twelfth Night party sound pretty sweet, and for many that have stressful times in the holidays, it sounds just like what the doctor ordered to get over the rigors of Christmas itself. Oh, and if anyone wants to know when you're traditionally supposed to get rid of all that Christmas mess from your front lawn and out of your living room and off the top of your house, well, that's meant to be the day after Twelfth Night. So, January 7th, actually, people. Or 6th, depending on how you're counting, again. So let's get it together, eh? Though, you know, I guess you could follow an even older tradition where you keep it all up until Candlemas. But that would extend your Christmasing until February 2nd, and well, I just don't know if we can handle that. Yeesh. I hope you'll consider extending your Christmas this year to include those 12 days and maybe even 12th night itself. I know I'm considering it, but that'll do for this newest entry into our thumbnail history series. For those that celebrate, Merry Christmas. For those that don't, enjoy your day all the same. I hear there are some pretty rockin' movies out, you know? The backing track you've heard throughout this is Roger McGuinn's The 12 Days of Christmas from his Folk Den project, which you should definitely check out. It's such a cool concept where he is trying to catalog and save a lot of folk music traditions. The track itself was accessed from the Free Music Archive and is being used under an Attribution, Non-Commercial, No Derivative Works 3.0 U.S. license. As always, thanks for listening to Prose, and you know what? A double special thank you for joining me on this holiday. It's a real special one for me and my family, and I can't tell you how much it means that you join me for it. Anyway, Merry Christmas, and see you next time.